Yeah, I think so. I mean, the only thing though is I feel like those 6 kids that I'm specifically thinking about, and then a couple of the special ed kids that just don't care about this class, I feel like maybe their engagement level would go down because they're not working with somebody they know. That's kind of a catch-22. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I know, and then there's one particular kid. He's very, very vocal, gets along with me great, talks to me all the time about random stuff, and then he has a good friend in here, and they, where they talk and they attempt to work. She actually does her work, he doesn't. And then as soon as we do anything where they have to do it, let's say taking notes, this is what he does. And he doesn't write a single thing down. And it's so weird. And that's just one particular case. Right. And he's not part of the 6 kids that feed off of the 6 boys. Right. So, I mean, I'll be interested to see what you think about this class. Yeah. It's been a challenge. To be honest with you, I feel in this class particularly because I've been so focused on trying to, what's the word? Not disengage, because that's not what I mean. I mean, like, when those 6 get together and they kind of get all riled up, and what they do is they just kind of like shout things out. Right. I feel like I've worked so hard to try to get that under control, right. Or at a level where they're actually not super disruptive to the class and they actually can just get it out and then start doing what we're supposed to do. Right. I feel like I've been working on that so much that I feel like the kids who are higher level and they are getting it all, they're doing well in their tests, I feel like I haven't really had any time to really talk to them or pay attention to them. I know that they're getting it by the work they're turning in and by the questions they answer in class, but I feel like all of my focus is on trying to put out this fire and this fire, and it sounds worse. I'm probably making it sound worse than it really is, but.
So you're spending so much time, or you've spent so much time focusing on
trying to develop a rapport with these really tough kids, right. So that they want to do something in my class that I couldn't even develop a rapport with the other kids, and that's made me feel a little bit guilty actually as a teacher.
Do you feel like you've done a good job of creating a rapport with those?
I do. Students? I think finally, just recently, I'm seeing some improvement. I mean, one kid, he's not going to graduate. And okay, so I can tell you that, but I can't tell you his name. I was like, oh, do I say this? No, I know for a fact he's not going to graduate.
Because of credits and
yeah.
Things like that. Okay.
And he misses a lot of school, and he's also a special ed student. He's an EBD student. And him and I actually got off on a really terrible foot, and then we patched it up and everything's great. We get along great now. And for example, last week he skipped first, second, and third hour, came in for my hour, and then skipped fifth. So to me, I was like, oh, that actually makes me feel kind of good.
Not awesome that he skipped half the day.
Well, no, I know, but at least he saw my class worth coming to.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, that's a positive. One of the other kids, the first time he got in here, it was just like, no, just going to sit in the corner, because he sits back in the corner, and I'm going to put my earbuds in, and I'm going to be on my phone the entire time. And I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. And now I see him on his phone every once in a while. The earbuds are hanging there, but I don't really ever see him in unless they're working. Right. They can have them. That's fine. He's taking diligent notes. He got a B on the last test and an A on the test before. So, I mean, I think that's an improvement. Yeah. And then with the other boys in that group, they just seem to be more receptive of what I say to them, and they just don't seem to try to push my buttons as much.
How do you go about?
And so I feel like that's been a success, a really good. I'm actually kind of disappointed that I'm going to lose these kids next week, because I feel like I'm finally getting somewhere with them.
Well, and it goes back to, and we've talked about this even the first cycle or observation or whatever, one of your greatest strengths, I think, is your rapport with kids. I mean, you did that in 7th grade, you did that in 8th grade, now you're teaching, remind me, what grade is this class?
11th.
11th. To be able to do that, I think, across the board is sometimes half the battle. You know, like creating that rapport, creating the relationships. How do you balance, though, creating the rapport and relationships, and then also having, because I would imagine throughout this time, in order to get those students, and in order to get the entire class on the same page, of having some type of classroom management, procedures, whether they be consequences or rewards or whatever, how do you balance that? How do you balance I don't want to burn my bridge with this student, especially maybe the EBD student, but I also want to hold him or her accountable.
That's kind of what my struggle has been, because I feel like I've let a lot of things, and I don't mean inappropriate things that need to be punished, you know, or kids need to have consequences, but I feel like in order to develop a rapport and get these kids to see that I'm not just this mean teacher making them do all this stuff because they hate school, that I'm actually really a person too, and I'm just up here doing my job, and I want this to be a successful class and everyone to have a good time and obviously learn something. I feel like I do struggle with that. Mostly I just kind of ignore what they say. Like, I mean, if they're shouting out things, I mean, they're not swearing. They know that they can't swear in here, which that was a problem at first. And so, but it's just weird things. Like, they'll make weird comments about weird movies, and nobody really knows what they're talking about, but they're all laughing, and so I'm just like, I just kind of roll my eyes and move on, and then they're done. Where most teachers would probably be like, knock it off, stop talking, you know, you need to leave. And if I just kind of let them get it out, and for a minute, we just move on, it's fine.
Right.
And I mean, there are times where I'm like, okay guys, okay, go back to your seats, you know, that kind of thing. So, I mean, I feel like I forgot the question. What'd you ask? Sorry.
So the overall question is, how do you balance?
Who is out there?
This dude. You can grab it.
Okay. Yep. You didn't start it, right? No. Okay. And then only answer on the back here. There's 5, but only answer 3. It says 4, but just answer 3. Okay. Yep. Okay. Sorry, you said the overall question was?
The overall question is, how do you balance the creating respect and rapport with kids and the relationships with kids with having a disciplined classroom or having the classroom management, so that it doesn't, that even though you want to create relationships, it's not affecting the overall culture of learning either?
I just kind of take a more laid back approach, where if they do something that isn't okay, I will just be like, for example, if they were to swear in front of the class, I have them come and apologize to the class, and they stand up and they have to like formally apologize, and the class has to accept it, and, which is, you know, sometimes they're like, no, we don't like it, but it was good. I'm like, oh, you're fine. And then they have to do a 1-minute wall sit. and so, well, that worked.
I was gonna say, has it been effective?
Yeah, because even sometimes when I don't hear a swear word, because I feel like swearing is just very common here, which is weird, because at the middle school you don't get it at all, and it's like constant, and I'm just like, it's like my goal to not have them, but if I don't hear a swear word, I'll hear one of those guys go, oh, that's a wall sit, that's a wall sit. So, I mean, I'm not hearing it. They might have said it in that group over there.
Right.
Which, I mean, that probably sounds terrible, like they're swearing in their groups and I can't hear it over here, but it seems like they want to hold each other accountable too.
Right.
So,
but I don't think it sounds terrible, because has it been effective?
I think it has. They haven't sworn since, like, out loud, like they were before, since.
And do you feel like it's more effective than if you were to constantly say, no swearing, you're out.
Yeah,
Or
because they wouldn't respond to that. And I
Right.
realized the very first week I had them that if I took that approach with them, then we would absolutely get nowhere. And that's why I had to take this laid back, and I'm more laid back than most teachers anyway, but I had to be really laid back with these guys, like, okay, all right, enough, like, let's move on. Or like if they say something where I think it's questionable, like if they make a reference I don't understand,
Right.
and maybe some of the kids are kind of like, what? I'm just like, all right, we're done now, let's move on.
Right. So you've had to be very conscious about even coming from junior high to high school on how you, even though I'm sure, and I've walked by and seen, and even in the first observation, you seem like you're very similar teaching style to what you were in junior high.
Yeah.
But you've also had to be conscious and make some changes as well.